The number one problems that we realize that most business consultants, business coaches that are wanting more corporate, higher level clients have is every single one of them says, when you say, where do you get most of your clients from? They say word of mouth and referrals. And you're like, okay, cool. That's good until your network of word of mouth and referrals either runs out or you want to grow and scale your business and you say, I need 10 more clients this quarter. There's only so much juice you can squeeze from the lemon, which is your network. Hey there, expert. Rana here. See, the wealthiest business coaches and consultants see business success as the system. This podcast, The Expert Advantage, contains real-world, in-the-trenches business advice that our clients use to gain a strategic advantage in growing their million-dollar expert business. It's my hope that you use these short lessons and insights to gain your strategic advantage in growing your expert business and maybe one day soon partner with us at the Expert Project to take your expert coaching and consulting business to $1 million and beyond. I hope you share and enjoy.
G'day guys, this is Jackson, the Lather Wealth Mentor, and we're here for another episode of the Financial Freedom Secret Show. One of the ways that you can grow and scale your business without having to rely on paid advertising, being at the mercy of Google ads, being at the mercy of Facebook ads, and getting vaxxed all of the time. And my good friend Rana from the Expert Project is an absolute master of, I'd say they're very traditional and foundational business growth strategies. However, they're incredibly powerful. We've been through Rana's process and it allowed us to produce some phenomenal returns in our business. So I wanted to get the man himself on the show and share some of his genius. So Rana, thanks for joining us, mate. How you doing?
Jackson, great to be here, mate. Thanks for having me. Doing really well. Excited to have a chat, mate.
Going to be great fun, mate. So for those who don't know you, Rana, give us a little bit of a crash course on you and your story, mate.
Yeah, like crash courses. I've been in business since 2007. I started my first business, bricks and mortar, fitness industry, personal trainer, just before the GFC hit. Had no business experience or qualification. And I realized that business came down to, it wasn't just about having a skill like personal training, because I thought I'm a good personal trainer. If I'm a good personal trainer, I'll be able to grow a business. And I realized very fast that customers just don't come to you because you think you're good, right? Fast forward, I grew that business we had 400 personal training sessions a week. I then, after 4 years, sold the business. A lot of people were asking me, how did you do it? Social media was a small thing at that time, like Facebook. And I realized that social media was a really powerful tool to reach more people faster. Fast forward like to a year's time, I ran the largest online fitness business summit when GoToWebinar was the go-to place to run webinars. And somehow Zoom is now that they didn't keep up, but it was really hard. We ran an amazing event and people started asking, how do you run online events? How do you do it? And we got to a point where I started to grow a skill set in social media marketing. And obviously I went down the route of Facebook because that's how I thought, it's really powerful, until when I started getting into consulting with companies. A lot of the companies that we work with were a little bit more sophisticated. They were more business consultants. And I realized pretty quickly that I knew nothing about LinkedIn, but they were all saying, we don't really use Facebook. Most of our marketplace is on LinkedIn. Like we're more B2B, or they use language like we're more B2B. We're more like high level customers. Our customers are more CEOs, CTOs, CFOs, CIOs. They use all the C words. And then I just think I got to a point where I realized that actually LinkedIn and organic marketing is something that is very underutilized. And we started to shape all of our strategies around how do we organically acquire business and grow our business. And we started tapping into LinkedIn because I knew nothing about it. And fast forward to today, we've grown our business to multiple 7 figures. I've got 3 companies that are doing over 7 figures. We use LinkedIn as the primary source for each company as a core source of growth. And we've worked with about 1,300 clients over the last 8 years, all of which have used LinkedIn strategically to grow and scale their business and consulting companies. So there's some really good stuff in it, and I'm really passionate about business growth, and I think LinkedIn is an amazing accelerant and a great tool.
Oh, great, mate. That's phenomenal. And it's interesting, mate, when you talk about Facebook. When we first met, I had recently been zapped and got completely banned from Facebook ads. So we were spending substantial amounts of money relying on that for our primary source of leads and come to a grinding halt. And still haven't got an answer as to why, but the algorithm decided that it was not meant to be. We had a moment of panic and realized that we actually needed to learn how to market organically. And we joined your program and discovered this world of LinkedIn, and it's been phenomenal. And look, I think our philosophy and our thought at the time, Rana, before you convinced us otherwise, is like many business owners, is that LinkedIn is just an online CV. There's a place for you to connect and spy on your past colleagues and people that you met to see what they're doing in their professional career. Yeah. By the sounds of things, that is not the case. Like, how do you guys actually take it from being that, of what many people perceive, into it being a lead generation tool?
Yeah, the number one problems that we realize that most business consultants, business coaches that are wanting more corporate, higher level clients have is every single one of them says, when you say, where do you get most of your clients from? They say word of mouth and referrals. And you're like, okay, cool. That's good until your network of word of mouth and referrals either runs out, or you want to grow and scale your business and you say, I need 10 more clients this quarter. There's only so much juice you can squeeze from the lemon, which is your network. And then you start just thinking, like, business is built on basics, Jackson. Like, most successful things in the world, the fundamentals are mastered. The basics are always like ticked off before anything else is added on top. And I think what we do, as business owners, where we chase tactics and not strategies, right? And so Facebook is there's so many tactics: Facebook ads, funnels, chatbots, AI. They're all tactics. And without a strategy, without the foundation of a strategy, the tactics don't matter. And so what I look at is that LinkedIn is not a strategy. It's a platform, right? It's a platform. And the platform without a strategy will give you exactly what you're putting into it, which without a strategy, you're probably going to have a CV, a bunch of connections that are your friends, family, or people that are your colleagues. You're going to get some random posts from random people. You're probably going to get hit up by other people, because we have a saying, you're either running your own strategy or you're part of someone else's. And then you're probably seeing LinkedIn as this like digital spam place where it's just too hard. I don't understand it, and therefore it's useless, which is fantastic, because it means that the people who think that way don't actually makes it easy for the rest of us that do understand the basics of it. And so the basics of LinkedIn are just like you would do a networking group, right? How many people go to BNI? How many people go to a networking event? And if you think about the fundamentals, it's always the same, isn't it? You walk into the room and you go, who here do I think would be my perfect future customer? And you make a quick scan. We all make a quick scan. And you're dressed up really nice. You try to look the best. You take a coffee that doesn't taste too good and you show up and you pretend to mingle. And if you're an introvert, you hate it. And if you're an extrovert, you amp it up. And you scan the room and you start to talk and identify with who you think would be a good opportunity. So you start a conversation. It's all the same. And you realize out of 20 people, there are probably about 4 people there that are really good to talk to. And out of those 4 people, you exchange a business card and you say, great, listen, let's catch up sometime. Yeah, let's catch up sometime. And some people never call those people, and other people go, listen, I am going to call them. Out of the 4 people you end up speaking to, have a coffee. And out of 2, you end up doing business with 1. And if you just did that, at the very least, you're going to have a business that trickles through. But over time, the 20 people, they're the same people in the room all the time. Your business dries up. So you need to go to another networking event. You need to drive to another place. You need to have another pour coffee and another average breakfast and make it more. And it's unscalable because of your time. So the first thought I had was, how do I grow my network in a leveraged way that allows me to accelerate the growth of my community and set up opportunity? And I saw LinkedIn as basically a huge business networking event where you can curate the room full of your perfect future customers, because there's search filters, where you can actually invite people to connect, because that's what the social platform does. And then when you are connected to them, you can start conversations and learn about them, and they can learn about you. And your opportunity pipeline over time becomes really rich with people, not just in a networking event, in a local networking event, but in the international networking event that is LinkedIn, that's got billions of active users. And so, yeah, like the basics of LinkedIn for me is like why we're so successful is because I think we just apply a strategy to LinkedIn that people can easily follow, consistently keep up with, and yield great conversations and great clients by just being consistent and following the process. And it's worked really well for us and obviously for our clients. And we just keep doing the basics, mate, over and over again.
And it's interesting, Rana, that you say that, because like when you explain it to us original, and we're like, that's it.
Yeah.
And like, Jackson, don't get caught up in the bright lights and the shiny objects of it all. And I think this is the issue, right? In this current environment where the evolution of marketing technology is evolving so quickly, people get caught up in the next new thing. And this side of the fundamentals, which is the reason why they're losing out, because they're just not doing the work that everyone else just isn't prepared or willing to do. And the interesting thing, and probably the most valuable part of working with you and implementing this, was how do we shift the bio? Because prior to working with you, Rana, my bio is all the secret, right? Like I'm like, no one has a resume anymore. I'm self-employed. I run my own business. I'm hopefully never going to need a resume again. But I want to have credibility. If people go and check me out, then they can see what I've achieved. And there was there's interesting strategies of shifting the positioning of the profile that, to be honest, we get inbound leads like every single week as a result of those changes. And not giving away all of the secrets, Rana, what's the keys to an amazing bio of that shift in positioning?
Yeah, like I said, I think you're either clear on the strategy or you're not, right? And so the first thing to do is understand what the strategy is. So we call it the foundations. First thing is, the first rule is people won't engage unless you're active. So getting your profile representing your offer or your model, it's not about you and your CV, it's about what your perfect future customer need to see you as even an option or as value. So we say you've got 7 seconds to make a powerful first impression. So if I come to your profile, Jackson, and I have no idea what you do, or you've just got a bunch of numbers and letters after your name, I'm not really sure on how you could help me, so I'll leave and find someone else. So the first thing is people won't engage unless you're active. Get your profile like representing your offer, right? From the perspective of your buyer, not the perspective of what you love about yourself. And then we've got to find people who are your perfect future customer. And remember, we all start at the same spot, unknown. So if you're unknown, the first thing you have to do is build an audience. So the audience you build are your perfect future customer connection. So we call it TIL. T stands for title, I stands for industry, L stands for location. Get clear on those three things, and just that is the only people that you connect with, the only people that you accept connections from that meet your criteria, your filter. That's your top of funnel in LinkedIn. I only want to be connected with my perfect future customer, not my friends, not my family, not my colleagues, because they'll never buy from me, which means that every person you're connected to that isn't your perfect future customer dilutes the effectiveness of your activity. So if I'm connected with 10 people who are my perfect future customer and I put a post out, 100% of my people that I want to see my post. If 1 in 10 is my perfect future customer, then my strategy is only 1/10 as effective as the other guy who has a smaller audience but more quality over quantity. That's the first thing. The other thing is, as consultants and coaches, we don't want to be too active because we have this story that I don't want to spam people, which you certainly don't want to do. And the other thing is, I just like people want me, they'll come to me. So we just think, you're that important that people should know about you. And you think at the moment, if you aren't, people won't show interest unless you ask, right? No one's going to come for a coffee with you unless you say, hey, would you like to grab a coffee? You don't have to be douchey about it and say, hey, listen, would you like to buy my program? Conversions happen as a result of good conversations. And so knowing how to have a good conversation in a digital space of LinkedIn and triggering those conversations is the key to successfully monetizing your connections. Hey there, expert. So listen, our mission here at the Expert Project is to positively impact the world of other business coaches and consultants just like you. We want to help them make more impact, have more income, and have a positive influence on the world. And see, the only way we can do that is if you've heard something in today's episode that moved you, created an insight, changed your perspective, or gave you an aha moment. All I'd ask you to do is take 10 seconds, rate and review this podcast so together we can help spread the word about this podcast and have a positive influence in someone else's world. So the first thing is you connect and then you start conversations. Conversations can be had in a couple of ways. One, you can invite people to an event. We use LinkedIn events. They're amazing. They're an amazing accelerant for us and our clients. Or you can do it one-to-one. If I reach out to someone who I think would be good to have a chat with, say, I could invite you to a conversation, Jackson, and see whether you're interested in what I know and what I talk about, what I could do for you. And you're most welcome to say no, just as much as you're most welcome to say yes. So you have to risk the no to get a yes. And that's like a digital door knocking strategy. If I know that it's numbers after a while, if I'm connected with 10 people, I knock on 10 doors, 3 people say bugger off. They don't even say it like that. They just won't respond. 2 people will say, hey, I'd love to have a chat. And then you've got 5 people that you can affect over time. And so the conversation is important. And then when you're having the conversation, then LinkedIn is just a catalyst for the conversation. And once you've got the conversation, that's where your sales process has to be dialed in to meet the client from the source of where they've come from. So if I know I'm generating a lot of my leads from LinkedIn, you need to have a buying process that matches the marketing channel that they've come from, which is really important. So you're trying to sell someone who is from LinkedIn in the same way you sell a referral or a word of mouth like referral is erroneous. It's a problem, right? Having a strategy where you can actually facilitate a strategic conversation around the key buying needs and wants and desires of your prospect is an accelerant that turns conversations into clients. And so LinkedIn, ultimately, that's really important. How do we turn your connections into conversations, into clients? And once we know how to do connection, conversation, client, then we've got a formula. Then you've got a system that doesn't rely on paid ads. It doesn't rely on funnels. It doesn't rely on having to have a high level of tech awareness or IT awareness. And it's something that is reliable, predictable. And as much as people say, LinkedIn is not scalable, we have 15 people who work in our company. Each person follows the same strategy. So we scale LinkedIn by multiplying the profiles. And so think about it. How could you turn your connections? How can you connect, grow your database? How do you have more conversations, increase your lead flow, and have more conversations that turn to clients, which means at least increase your opportunity pipeline. So you're not left going, where's my next client coming from? If you lose a big client, you're not worried about how you're going to get your next sale coming in, because you should always have opportunity knocking at your door. And that gives you confidence to continue to move forward into the future. And I think that's really important. That's what marketing does. Marketing gives sales confidence, and sales gives delivery confidence, and delivery gives marketing confidence. And the game of business is built around those 3 things.
Beautifully put, mate. And look, I think what scares most people off with this, and that was certainly my experience going into it, is we've all received these icky DMs from pitchy, salesy people who just, as soon as they connect, they just try and sell you shit. And that's just not how business is done. It was really interesting when you made this analogy to me, and it made so much sense, because I think we look at, just because the platform changes, we think the entire strategy needs to change. Like, Jackson, where are you ever going to go to a business breakfast and walk up to the first person that you meet and say, hey, buy my shit? Yeah, right? You wouldn't do it. And what's interesting, Rana, when we made this shift into this more congruent, conversational, relationship-based strategy, when we haven't told you this, but our 2 biggest acquisitions, that total about $2 million in business acquisitions, both of those have not only become business, or 3 of them have become business partners.
Yeah, wow.
But we've basically acquired their businesses from cold LinkedIn outreach for having high value, high impact conversation.
Amazing. And it's phenomenal. And the thing is, that's the thing. There's 2 things in business that we have to, and this is what you work on. You go, there's average dollar sale, which is what did you get front end? Those deals wouldn't have been worth as much as they are now. So you've got average dollar sale, and you've got lifetime value. And so the activity of LinkedIn doesn't just stop because you get a connection. It starts because you get the connection, and then it continues because you make the conversion, and then they refer, and then those people become like, they sign on to your next program, or they get more of your services. And so the thing I always ask people is, going back to that topic about spamming people, I said, when we say connection, conversation, conversion, client, you can't go from connection to client. And that's what a lot of people try to do. They just think I'm just going to go from, hey, Jackson, thanks for connecting. Here's my blog and here's my resources. You should be interested in me. In the same way, if I came up in a business breakfast to you and I said, hey, Jackson, hi, what's your name? And you said, hi, my name's Jackson. I said, Jackson, you're in for a treat. Let me tell you about me. And you waxed on for half an hour about how good you are. You would still think that person's a douche. But somehow we think, but because we're on LinkedIn, that behavior is acceptable. And I don't know who teaches this stuff, but the first thing to do is introduce yourself. Start a damn conversation. And I think the spam thing is like how you do something is just as important as what you do. And that's why people are often misguided. I think, oh, LinkedIn, it's not that hard. Just send some messages. If it was that easy, everyone would be smashing it. The problem is it's like there's frequency and there's consistency, and that's what creates opportunity. And those variables are really important in anything you do. Some things like Facebook ads have algorithms to do that for you. But in LinkedIn, because it's a bit manual, we need to kind of set some benchmarks for the frequency and the consistency and the opportunity and measure those things. And that's what the secret formula is. So it's not about just sending people messages and spamming people. And the fact is, if people think making an offer is spam, that's a real problem that a lot of people have to overcome. Making an offer is part of business, right? If you expect to wait for people to come to you, you give all of your power and control as a business to everyone else, and you sit and you have what we call a hope strategy. And hope is a really poor marketing strategy. I've never seen it work. Hope is great to give you some confidence, but without activity and without measurable actions, hope will be the thing that stops you from growing. So I think like the spam thing is really important to understand. Yes, it is. How you do something is more important than what you do often. But the bottom line is, the people won't show interest unless you ask. So you need to ask more to get more, and that's the game of business.
Makes perfect sense, mate. And I think once people nail that, they get the strategy right, they get the platform right, and then they implement the appropriate tactics at the right time and stick with them. Then success falls out the bottom. And an absence of any of those three things will ultimately result in an absence in results. And that's the reason why I love so much what you do, mate, and how systematic you guys are at with this. And it's a testament to the case studies that you've been able to produce, us being one of the. So feel free to chuck us on the highlight reel, Rana. So mate, let's talk about an ideal fit client. We've spoken about this, and this obviously resonates to some people or it doesn't. Now, we obviously also work with a lot of tradie businesses. We've spoken a lot about professional services, coaches, consultants. Does this work for other service businesses?
Yeah, look, really great question. Honestly, I constantly get surprised often. I've always think the business consultants are probably the best fit for us in terms of white collar. You want to work with corporate clients who are on LinkedIn, getting in, delivering a workshop, seminar, presentation, and dealing with a procurement team or a HR team or executive leadership or whatever it is, and being able to provide ongoing consulting or workshops and things is really profitable. Like, we've got clients earning millions of dollars by just doing that with the 4 or 5 corporate clients, and it's amazingly profitable. So that's what I would say would be the ultimate. However, we have a guy in trade. So you want to talk about trades? We've got people in HVAC, we've got people in development. But one guy came to us, and this will blow you away. It was hilarious. He goes, we do double glazed windows. Can you help? And I'm like, mate, double glazed windows in a scale of 0 to 10, knowing something about it, I'm definitely like -2. But it sounds like you might know. Let's just have a look. Are your audience on LinkedIn? Are the people that you want on LinkedIn? We went through and did a bit of a filter, because you can filter using Sales Navigator, and we found out there was a few thousand. So, okay, how big is your database at the moment? And we don't have a database. I'm like, okay, that's a problem. How much is your average dollar sale worth? And he said, look, for a site, sometimes like a building site can be worth anywhere from 20 grand, it could be $1 million plus. Because if you're doing a big development, now there's like these restrictions with double glazed windows and soundproofing. And so literally, James has been with us now for almost 3 years. The guy's making like almost $8 million a year, because when clients buy from you once, then they do another development. They buy from you again and again. And he's one of the only double glazed window companies in Sydney that do it, manufacture in Australia. And so it's hard for me sometimes to go, well, our perfect fit client is this, but here's what I look at always is, how many of your perfect future customers are on LinkedIn? Let's do a search. If you've got a couple of thousand or more, the question would be, what does it cost you not to be connected to them and not to have conversations with them? If someone said to me, Rana, I want to sell soap on LinkedIn. I want to sell soap to mums and dads. Not going to work. I had a lady who was a parenting coach, and I was like, look, it's probably going to be hard for us on LinkedIn because it's not specific enough, and she wasn't clear. And I was like, not clear. But then we get people who are executive leadership coaches, HR consultants, middle managers, accountants, professional services, from corporate consultants, corporate business coaches. And our tradies businesses are usually people who are doing, like, what they want to work with bigger construction companies and complementary service providers as well. And there's a lot on LinkedIn. Yeah.
I love that. Fantastic, mate. So if anybody listened or watched this podcast and they're interested in finding out more, mate, how do they connect with you, and what would be the next best steps?
Yeah, just shoot me a connection request on LinkedIn and have a conversation. I mean, I use LinkedIn. We practice what we preach. So LinkedIn is our number one channel. That's where you'll find me. Or so you just go to www.expertproject.com and you can reach out there. But LinkedIn's a really great place to do it, and we'll start there. That would be the best place.
Awesome. Fantastic. We'll include all the links in the show notes, mate. Now, you have to give one last golden nugget, rather, to sum up everything we've spoken about today for people to go and implement as a result of our conversation. What would that last golden nugget be?
It would be to set up a LinkedIn account, first and foremost, and start thinking about your perfect future customer and look at everyone that you're connected to. And the question you've got to answer, first and foremost, is, are the connections you're connected to your perfect future customers, or are they colleagues, friends, and family? And the very first thing you should do is, and this is going to be polarizing for some people, but I would disconnect from everyone that isn't my perfect future customer if you choose to use LinkedIn as a business development tool. Your profile is your landing page. So you got to think about that. What does your audience see, feel, and understand when they come across your profile? And is that what you want them to see, feel, or understand in order to do business with you? That's the first step.
Great advice, mate. That's phenomenal. So guys, remember, a great idea in theory remains exactly that, just a good idea until you put it into practice. So make sure you implement what you've covered and what you've heard on the show. Rana, I appreciate you making the time, mate. I'm also super pumped to get you to come and do an expert masterclass for our private clients where we can go deeper on this stuff. And guys, if you're interested, make sure you reach out to Rana and book in time, and looking forward to catch up again soon, mate.
Likewise, buddy. Cheers, Jackson.